Hello, everyone. Welcome, finally, to the second Spin It Social Hour update. Wow, that was a lot of work. We had some technical problems with Facebook, or I should say Facebook had some issues with me. I think someone was trying to hack into my account, and lo and behold, I got disconnected and blocked. So I did everything within my social media powers, and I worked it and worked it and worked it, and here we are. And Stefan is on the screen. Stefan, welcome to the Spin It Social Hour. I wanted to have you right on so we could get this started because, what a snafu that was. How are you today, Stefan?
I'm very good. Sorry that I'm texting while I'm talking to you because I have so many, I'm flooded with people wanting to know if we're on or not.
I think everybody's going to understand these things happen. This is the nature of live streaming. And sometimes these technical problems in this world are going to happen. People in bigger companies have had bigger issues. But we made it. We are now streaming live to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So if anybody out there thought that we weren't going to get this done, we got it done. So here we are. Folks, I have been doing the Spin It Social Hour now. I'm going to take Stefan off for 1 second so I can just tell you a couple of things without boring him. I have been doing the Spin It Social Hour now for 38 shows. Never had a problem like that, but I have brought you 38 incredible photographers over since the pandemic hit. And I am going to lower my energy here a bit, deep breath, because the show must go on. But the Spin It Social Hour is a labor of love born out of care and concern for our photo community. And along the way, I decided that I was also going to start doing these Spin It Social Hour updates. Why? Because I wanted to make sure that we were updating you on the progress and a lot of things going on in these wonderful photographers' worlds. And we were going to bring them on every now and then so they can give you these updates on projects, on books, on whatever they're doing. So last 2 weeks ago, I brought on Esdras Suarez, and we were able to get an update on him and his photography, and also this wonderful health business that he's doing with his VC yoga and other things. But today, I wanted to bring on another photographer that really is just an incredible guy. We had him on here before. And the show that we had him on before was right here, La Frontera, Artists Along the U.S.-Mexico Border. You can go back and see this on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere. And it was a great discussion. But now we're here to bring on Stefan and have him tell us about his latest work. And here we go. Stefan, it is an absolute pleasure to be here with you. I wanted to make sure that everybody had the lowdown on everything else. What have you been up to, man?
Good afternoon, first of all, and thank you so much for having me again. Love your show. Always an honor to be here. What have I been up to? Well, as everybody knows, work is slow, or was slow, since March of last year. So during the pandemic here in New York, I started to get busy shooting the streets of New York. And one advantage of not having too much work is you can follow your own projects. And I got really busy and finally decided to wrap up that project in a book. So it's photography of 2020 from March to the end. And I decided to go self-publishing, which is unusual for me. I published 2 coffee table books with outside publishers. Yeah. And that's a whole new experience. And in part, thanks to the pandemic too, because, I had all the time to think about it and work on it. And it's an extremely work-intensive, endeavor. So,
no, it is. And, well, you put your heart into everything the way all photographers do. And I have to tell you, I love your work. And I've when I heard you were doing this book, it was just great to, hear about it. And I got my copy right here. It's right here. Keep it going, New York. Let me pull it back a little here. Here we go with a little smile. Keep It Going, New York by Stefan Falke. Now it's available in soft cover and hardcover, right? You have a hardcover with you right there, right?
That's right. Well, it's that's the beauty of Blurb. That's a platform where publishers.
Right.
So
well, tell us about the origin of the project. Tell us about how you decided that you were going to work this into a book and what it takes to self-publish like this, and tell us about, and then we'll go through some of the book. I have a little video clip here we're going to show, but it's, it's wonderful, man, to be able to capture the resilience of New York. Tell us, Stefan, tell us all about it.
Well, I try to, as in the rest of my work, as you know, from my Mexico border, U.S.-Mexico border project, was all about artists and art and the positive aspect of living in a binational region with all these problems. But, there's so many photographers out there who focus on the problems. I, in my work, rather stay on the, as I always say, I pick the flowers, and even if it's a disaster. I strongly believe in showing the positive sides of life without negating the problems, but
right.
You have to show the value of places and people and things to make people engage people and make them think about places and people. Mm-hmm. So, and we are so flooded with, like in the pandemic, we are flooded with the same material, which I'm not saying is not important, but it's all hospitals and nurses and doctors and ambulances and whatnot. And again, this is very important work.
Right.
By the way, there's two works that stand out in this. One is 𝐊𝐶𝐲 𝐆𝐴 in the New York Times. That was really, really touching. And the other one is Claudia Paul, with her series of portraits of nurses. There's still ways to get you, and those two series really, really touched me. But at the same time, there's so much out there that I think people get tired of, or not tired of seeing it, but it doesn't affect them much anymore.
Right.
So I'm trying to put a positive spin on things, and if you can even say that in a situation like this. But New York is still, and this was for the first time, and since I've lived here on and off for 30 years. This is the first time you could really see New York. I mean,
right.
New York without the people gives you a whole new view of it. You walk around like a tourist. You look up, you look down, you look, before you had to just watch everybody coming your way because there's so many people and so many dangers and mishaps and so on.
Correct.
So and New York is still a wonderful, wonderful city. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I do not want to do New York any harm.
Right.
I love the city. I came here because I love it. I continue to love it. And that's kind of what I still want to show, as much trouble as we are in.
Well, going through the streets the way you did, and focusing on a certain, aspect of covering this in a very unique way, that's what grabbed me. And then, of course, putting it into a book and making sure all the photos play well with each other, the page design, everything else. I give it to photographers these days who self-publish because, we're all brands and we have to take matters into our own hands to get our work out there in a lot of ways these days. And I think self-publishing is an amazing thing. And when I first saw the book, I really, the size, the format, the way the whole layout is, it's just beautiful. But, the one thing I love about you is that you don't just look at Manhattan. You don't look at just Manhattan as New York. You've been to Queens to document, to do this work. You've been to all the way out to Coney Island and other places to do this work. And you've brought it all together to show the real New York that way. And that's really important.
Thank you. Yeah, that was important to me. And there are certain spots I like to go to, like Jackson Heights and Williamsburg in Brooklyn, where I've lived for a long time. I lived in Brooklyn most of my, living in New York. So I love Brooklyn.
Right.
And now I love Manhattan. I happen to live in Manhattan. That's really cool too, but it's difficult to get out of Manhattan.
Right.
Because there's enough of it right here. So at Coney Island, and how can you not include Coney Island? Coney Island is New York. So
right.
So that was really important. So I've been pretty much all over the place. You don't see all of that in the book because the book had to be limited. The only downside about self-publishing is the limitation in price. The more pages, the more expensive.
Right.
The big publishers, they do big books for 200 pages for the same price I'm selling 62 pages.
Right.
That's the nature of self-publishing. They print the book when you order it.
So I have a question for you. In doing a beautiful book like this, it's the perfect size and everything else. I love the paperback because it's just so comfortable to hold, and the hardcover is beautiful too. But in doing a book like this, you did it with tell me the name of the company again. I'm drawing a blank here.
Blurb, BLURB. Yeah.
Right. Blurb. Exactly. And here we go. We got it right here. Self-published, going through New York with blurb.com, and it can be ordered there. In doing this, I know you by now. I know, I'm sure you didn't shortchange the book based on price. So how did you go about picking the right number of photos for this type of book, even though it is costly for somebody to do this?
Well, that's actually a good point because I didn't limit myself in the beginning because of the price. I mean, that becomes the further you go, it becomes an issue. But that was not my initial limitations. I knew that the book couldn't be like one good picture after another. The book,
right?
Like in my other works, the book is a message, is an idea,
right?
Is one thing. It's not the single pictures that give you the feeling of the book. It's
sure.
It's the 59 pictures together.
That's right.
And the sequencing of the double pages is like extremely different. I was about to become a graphic designer before I became a photographer. That was my goal, kind of. Mm-hmm. I never got to it. So I had a lot of fun with doing this, and that's why the self-publishing. I didn't think I could do it, and I'm actually suspicious of every photographer who thinks they can do it. Because we usually can't, especially the sorting out the pictures. I mean, Claudia Steinberg, who wrote the text, the introduction to the book, a beautiful introduction, by the way, really nailed it, and it's just an amazing text.
No,
but
she really
pictures. So it wasn't just me.
No, she really wrote a beautiful intro. Claudia Steinberg is her name, everybody. And, it just starts off so beautifully and says, whenever New York City encounters something big, a blizzard, a hurricane, or a heat wave, Stefan Falke takes his camera on the 20-minute, 20-block walk from his home in Chelsea to Times Square as an ever-recognizable anchor location. In the early spring of 2020, one of the first days of the coronavirus lockdown in his chosen hometown of the last 20 years, he once again found himself in that restless heart of Manhattan, and it stood still. That's just a little taste of how it introduces the book. And I have to tell you, a beautiful piece of writing by Claudia, beautiful photos by you. Let's give everybody a quick little look at a little video clip we have here to treat them to about the book. It's about a minute, so enjoy this for a minute and we'll be right back. Just a little clip that Stefan did himself. Closing doors, please. I love that, man. Bravo, bravo. Very well done.
It was much fun doing that.
It's fun. You did a lot. You got a lot of steps in too. A lot of walking.
Yeah, well, that's what I do.
No, I know. We even met up, you, I, and me and my co-producer, Jonathan Borstein, who's not here today, but on my regular show, we met up in Madison Square Park about a month ago, I think.
Yeah,
and about a month ago, and maybe more. And we all masked up and got together just to say hello to each other, because this has been a long year and everything. But so many beautiful sights in the book, and so many really, really, the color is outstanding. And you made a note about color in the intro, or at least Claudia did. And also I reflected on that a bit, because you consider yourself a certain type of photographer that doesn't always necessarily rely just on what you're looking at in color. But you talk to us about that, Stefan, about the perspective of photographing, what you did for the book.
Yeah, until just recently, color has probably never been the deciding factor to take a picture, or to take a picture in a certain way. When I put up my camera, I see black and white.
Right.
Not that I see black and white, but I think in black and white. I started my generation started in the dark room. I learned photography solely in the dark room, working on my own bad pictures, trying to make them better, and loved it. So I still see composition. I see it really without color, and then I come home and I'm like, wow, and I'm almost offended when people say to me, wow, look at the colors in your picture. I'm like, that's not what it is about, It used to offend me. Now it's a little different, because especially since the pandemic started, you have, all of a sudden it's the structures and colors, and my seeing things really changed a little bit.
Right.
So yes, and I'm not saying that when I see a red umbrella that I'm not reacting to it. I'm not colorblind or anything, but it's never the again, deciding factor of a picture for me.
Sure.
Until just recently.
So after you decided to self-publish and everything, and put out all these beautiful photos, which actually, let's do something else here. Let's bring up your Instagram page, and let us give everybody, a few treats here in terms of the actual photos. We went through some of them earlier there, and we were showing them. But let's give everybody a little taste here of some of the other photos. In going through self-publishing once again with this book and everything, where do you begin? Where do you end? And now comes the promotion part and everything, which I think you've been doing a great job with. I've seen a lot of great posts about it and everything. How are you spreading the word about it, besides being here on the Spin It Social Hour?
Well, that's a big factor on it. And again, I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
All of a sudden, I don't know. I don't know. I have too much creative juices going these days. So when the book was finished, I went immediately out with it and shot the book in places where I shot pictures for the book.
Right.
And so the book itself takes on its own life. I wasn't even thinking about advertising it that way first, but then it just so happens that these pictures look good too. So. And then this was before I started shooting video. I never thought of that, ever. And then I think in Coney Island, my wife walked around with a book, and I'm thinking, oh, let's do something with it.
Yeah, I noticed your wife is a real trooper. She went everywhere with you, helping to come up with new advertisement shots and promo shots.
She is the best.
She is a trooper, man. So talk to us for a minute about, so for example, these two pictures here. Talk to us about what you were looking for when you were walking the streets to capture the essence of Keep Going New York, and also the context for not the context, but the way you brought it all together in designing the pages. With one photo with the other on each back-to-back page, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that took me, every book editor can tell you how much time they spent on this. It's in part intuition, it's in part, somebody once said, if you have a double page, if you have a page with two pictures, they have to complement each other. The page itself with the two pictures has to work somehow,
Right.
Sometimes you don't even know why they work together, but they just do.
Right.
Often it's graphic elements. Often it's the color. In this case, it's like it's two pictures of the same event, which I didn't really want to do, but it just worked.
Right.
The coming of the ship up there, that was one of the craziest moments in the. When that ship came up the Hudson, I was like, you still get goosebumps thinking about it. So, and then the movement, as I call it, Keep Going New York, because after all, this is New York. People still have this walk to it's only in New York do you see people walking that way. They just go about their business, and even if the whole world collapses around them or is on fire or whatever, they're just going to go somewhere and do something.
Well, that's the truth. New Yorkers have a certain walk to them. We also, as everybody tells me, because of my New York accent, born and bred here, we also have our talk. but the walk, like for example, with this photo here, these two photos here are just absolutely perfect together. And I have to tell you, these two play so perfectly together, you can't get better. And that you found both of these works of art and captured them with those perfect moments of each pedestrian walking by in same space between their legs, almost the same exact pinpoint location of each of them right in the middle. I mean, these things just don't happen. It takes a lot of work and patience and perseverance. So talk to us about that in doing this project.
Well, finding those two locations was easy because they're both under the same underpass, which is right by the F stop in Dumbo.
Okay.
York Street. If you don't go down to Dumbo but up towards Brooklyn Heights, then you come through this underpass. So they're on both sides. Actually, I almost missed the other side because I was so focused on the black and white one. Each of these pictures takes an hour, 2 hours, whatever. I mean, I'm just hanging out in these locations. I got my spot. I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I want to do, and then I just wait. And,
right.
In each of these locations you see in the book, I have 20 different people walking through it.
Yeah.
And it was never about like how they look or what they wear or what they. I mean, I would still be waiting there if it was about that, but it was about the walk.
Right.
Like,
well, you also
the energy really.
Right. You also made and Claudia did it in her introduction, a very, very profound and very, really powerful statement in the book about that some areas in New York were more desolate than others. In that if you go out to Queens, for example, or Chinatown, both very hard hit by the coronavirus. Queens more than anything. I mean, Queens became ground zero for a while of the epidemic, of the pandemic. And, essential workers don't have the luxury of sitting home. They don't have the luxury of being at home and not going out and doing what they have to do every single day to serve the rest of the city and be the frontline workers, so to speak, that they are. And we thank them for that. And so you both made a point of that in the introduction. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, especially Jackson Heights and other places in Queens and Chinatown, for that matter, which is kind of underrepresented in the book. There was another hard decision. I mean, people don't have the luxury. I mean, people don't live in big apartments and can just hang out there for a year. I mean, Jackson Heights was really, really busy.
Right.
The streets were busy. And,
no, absolutely. They were very, very busy. And,
I'm not judging that in any way or form, but it was a big difference being there or other places than, being in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Out of necessity, I would say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, you covered many, many different areas in the city, as we said, and as you've just talked about, but including Jackson Heights and Chinatown and everything. But the one photo that caught me as soon as I saw you working on this body of work, and I'm thrilled and I'm honored to have one of your prints right here that I have in my possession, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, this photo here should be in a museum because it is absolutely stunning. With this incredibly well-dressed gentleman. I'm trying to position it just perfectly here. There we go. And looking out at the Empire State Building, it is just stunning, and I'm proud to own it and have it. What made you, for instance, walking the streets is one thing, but you also had the inside, you thought about it a lot and you actually ventured up to certain spots to get a picture like that to include in the book, because that is one of the more different photos in the book, whereas many of the other scenes are street scenes. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, and then putting it on the cover was kind of daring because
that's right.
He's not going anywhere in that moment. So I just thought this is the most, a cover is a cover. It catches you or it doesn't.
Right.
And I thought this was just the right picture to catch your attention, and then putting the bold writing right above it, gives you the message, I guess.
It is just stunning. I mean,
I could show the back. There's somebody walking. So.
That's right. So here we have the back of the book, and there's the front of the book. So Stefan will hold the back up there, and I'll hold the front up. But it's definitely a book that you want to have in your collection about the early phase of this pandemic and the feel to the streets. I mean, there were many photographers out there, braving it to take pictures of the isolation, the empty streets of New York City. Even a couple of my students did work like that at FIT. One of my students, Adam, did a great. His handle on Instagram is 𝐊𝐞𝐞𝐩 and very innovative. You can't forget that one, 𝐊𝐞𝐞𝐩. He did some of these great triptychs of Times Square and a couple of places. But anyway, how did you, after a while, bring this to a close and say, okay, now I have enough to publish a book? When did that moment come? I mean, because that's a hard thing to do, is to decide when, with a project like this, especially where you're walking around a lot and there's going to be more photos, and more moments of this subject. When do you call it not quits, but when do you say it's time to publish?
Well, usually I have a huge problem with that. As you know, U.S.-Mexico border projects can't find an end, and that's okay because the border will be there longer than I will.
That's a great question, by the way. Does this Lori L. Anderson Barbata? I shouldn't presume it's Lori. Sorry. L. Anderson Barbata asked, does this gentleman actually on the cover of your book know that he's on the cover of the book? Does he?
No, but he will very soon. I know who he is. So.
Oh, you do know who he is. Okay. Okay. And how did you find that out?
I'm lucky. I asked somebody because he was there in a function and I couldn't talk to him, but I found him.
Okay. Well, Rose says it's a great book cover, and I agree. I think you picked the perfect photo for this book. Now that must have been I would presume that's probably the most difficult decision, right? Is picking the front cover. For some reason or another, I didn't even play around with it. That was my picture, and I knew it had to be bold writing, and that was it. I had less problem with the cover than with sequencing the pictures inside. Okay.
The back picture I changed a lot, but always came back to the picture that I used. The inside was far more difficult. Mm-hmm. So, but back to the question, the ending of the year made it easy for me to end the project. It's not ending, by the way. I'm still out there shooting.
Sure.
Now it's more about the restaurant, outdoor structures, but I'm still kind of trying to find people walking through my frame, But the ending of the year, and the sense that things would change, which now we know haven't yet. There's hope on the horizon that wasn't there just a month or two earlier. Vaccinations, and there's something in the air. But
yeah,
the ending of the year, the literal ending of that year, 2020, made it. And you would think I should have published it before Christmas, but I just wasn't ready.
Right.
And, I could have forced it, but it wouldn't be the same book. It wouldn't have been the same book.
Right.
So these things just happen the way they happen.
Right. Well,
definitely a deciding.
We see Rachel Running is here, and we know that she was part of your other project that you worked on that we featured here on the Spin It Social Hour, which was La Frontera, which I'm going to show it right here once again. I'm going to take this off so this way we can show it in full here. But the thing is that this show was fantastic, and it was great because we were able to discuss another huge project you work on. I'd love everybody to go to YouTube or anywhere and find the Spin It Social Hour on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Find this episode of the Spin It Social Hour and make sure that you check that out because, you worked on that project for 8 years. But this is your latest work. Keep going, New York. And we're going to make sure that New York keeps going. We're all going to keep pitching in and doing our part and making sure that we keep our spirits up, that we stay safe, that we mask up, that we get our vaccine. Hopefully, many people are getting it. Hopefully, more and more will be getting it. We know this is going to be 2021 it's not gotten there yet, but we're working at it. And, Stefan, I have to tell you, it's something like your book and your photos. This book says it all. The title, Keep Going, New York. And it's inspirational. And you know what? It's just what we needed at this moment to make sure that we have something else to inspire us with. So tell people the different avenues of opportunity where they can get this. And then we're going to say good afternoon to everybody and let everybody find your book and hopefully buy it.
Well, if you go to one of my Instagram handles or my website, it has its own gallery there, or blurb.com or Facebook. I mean, if you find me, you find the book. I mean, I'm all over the place with it. I hope I'm not annoying too many people, but that's another thing. If you have to self-advertise, then there's great opportunities these days, and And
Yes.
a big shout out to digital photography and online, all that. For me, it's like the big box of crayons had been opened and I can do whatever I want. I mean,
Well,
creativity wise, it's just awesome. If I can make a book and advertise it and shoot a video about it and doing all that all by myself, then everybody can.
You did a lot of work on it, and I wanted to give you an extra. It's the 15-minute Spin It Social Hour update. We're at 35 minutes, but I wanted to give you the extra time because to talk a little more about it, and I wanted to ask a few more questions because we had that technical snafu, probably threw off a few viewers today, but the show went on and the update went on, and I wanted to make sure that I help you get this information out there because the project speaks to me as a born and bred New Yorker. It speaks to me as somebody like all of us who are living through this right now. We've lost too many people. Way too many people, and our hearts go out to everybody. And Stefan's one of these people that I've come to get to know, who's all about being very proactive and doing the best work he can do and make it inspirational. And that's what this work does. And a final note, though, I wanted to make a note here that this beautiful photo that I own here, that Stefan sent me, and also any of his prints from the book, and also any of his prints, period, are available through his agency. Tell us quickly about your agency and how they can find your photos and purchase them if they wanted to decorate and have them in their home.
That's a good point. The prints I'm selling myself, but the pictures for publication are available in the US through Redux Pictures.
That's right.
The archived material for magazines and other publications is through Redux and Life in Germany, which is my main agency, LAIF, which is represented by Redux, so they work together on it. The prints, if you go to my website and you click shop, you'll find everything you need. If you have a big spot above your sofa and you need to fill it, hit me up.
Well, the thing is that, I wanted to make sure that people know, because I tell you, the print that I have is just so gorgeous. I really think it's just, it's one of the pictures that I've ever owned. And I can't wait to get it framed. I haven't been running around as much, being able to, with the pandemic, I'm limiting my stops. So a framing shop right now to me is not essential. So I'm keeping I'm that serious about it. But the photo is gorgeous. I keep it well preserved and everything. And L. Anderson Barbada says, and a great document of a historic time in New York City. Surely it is. And as Stefan says, his photos are available through Redux for publication. And let me show you right here. This is Redux Pictures right here. You can check them out, and you can find them right at reduxpictures.com.
If you are a professional user for the home.
Right. For the home, you can approach Stefan. Exactly. For your home, you can approach Stefan. And for pictures for publication, please check out Redux. Anyway, folks, we're going.
Shout out for Carl Seiters, the Lux Lab in New York. He's doing all my printing.
Okay. Absolutely. A shout out to the printer. No doubt about it. But I'm going to end this show in a second here. I just wanted to let everybody know about my sponsor real quick. All right. And one final thing is I want to tell everybody before we say goodbye is I wanted to let everybody know that this Thursday, February 4th, with no Facebook tricks at the beginning of the show, the Spin It Social Hour is going to be on February 4th, this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm bringing on a really great photographer name, big fan and supporter of the show from Allentown, PA. He's done so much work on the steel workers industry in Pennsylvania, in Bethlehem, the plant there. He has some really historic photos, and it's going to be a great show with a lot of history, some surprises, and just some real history to grab a hold of, given the nature of the steel industry in this country and how this country was built in many ways by some of these great men and women who worked in these plants. So, folks, thank you for tuning in for a Spin It Social Hour with the great Stefan Falke here. Stefan, I'm going to tell you, you keep going just like New York needs to keep going. And I want to thank everybody. And let's say goodbye and take care, everybody. Okay? Be well. Bye-bye. Thank you for seeing this Spin It Social